Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. I am Adesua Omoran.
And I'm Rafah Hussaini.
And I'm Shaitu Atigari.
Well, the rift between Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello and his deputy Simon Achuba still lingers, even as the confluent state prepares for another gubernatorial election.
Following the deputy governor's alleged disloyalty sometime in 2017, the duo started experiencing hiccups in their relationships. Their irreconcilable differences became more noticeable last November of 2018 when Governor Bello traveled out of the country and handed over to Speaker Kolawole Matthew instead of his deputy governor. This development generated widespread criticisms from stakeholders.
For over 1.5 years, the deputy governor has not been seen at any public functions organized by either the state government or his party, the All Progressives Congress (APC). Many thought the deputy governor should have resigned, but disappointed as he stayed put, despite serious humiliation from his principal.
And recently, the embattled deputy governor raised the alarm over alleged death threats to his life, appealing to President Muhammadu Buhari and the Inspector General of Police, Muhammadu Adamu, to come to his rescue.
In the light of this development and the forthcoming gubernatorial elections in the state, so much is expected in the next coming weeks and months. So joining us now is Dotun. Dotun is a social critic, and we also have Salifu Usman, a legal practitioner, social critic, and the publicity secretary, Reclaim Kogi Project. But we've got Dotun here in the studio. Dotun, by way of honor and recognition, your full details?
My name is Dotun Ojon, and I'm a leadership and public affairs analyst.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just go straight to it. What is the problem between Elder Achuba and the governor of Kogi State?
Okay, I think in the last 7 years, I have studied the political system in Nigeria, and you discover that the problem is not just about Kogi State. You should be asking what's always the problem between the governors and their deputy in so many states of the Federation. We're only talking about Kogi today because Kogi's affairs is always on the newspapers here and there. But the issue is that I think the Nigerian state we are creating is a state that empowers a few individuals to be too powerful. When you consider the power in the hand of a governor, for example, and the politicking that is involved in the entire process of who becomes a governor, then you will understand that the deputy governor is just the deputy, and if he likes his job very carefully, he should do the bidding of his master.
But that's not the case. The deputy governor is just a deputy. Yeah. You know, in the case where the governor is not in town, he becomes the governor. And the cracks started pretty much when Matthew Kolawole, the speaker, the governor was not going to be down and handed over to the speaker. I mean, why will a governor do that to start with?
Yes, that's a logical question, and it's also a legal question, really. In the first place, I had expected that some few people in Kogi State will have gone to court to challenge that, because anything you do today, this is my fear about leadership, anything you do today, you are indirectly creating a system for the generations to come to follow. And when nobody talked about it, because of politics, you remember I talked about partisan politics, because majority of those people that were supposed to go to court perhaps are in the majority party, in the ruling party rather, and they do not want to incur the wrath of the governor. So when a governor does that, everybody is supposed, within the state, supposed to call him to order. But because of partisan politics, anybody and everybody want to keep quiet. So it's very wrong for a governor to have traveled in the first place and not transmit power to the deputy. And this is a case of even the man that was given power, that's the Speaker of House of Assembly. In the first place, he should have rejected and called the state government to order. But because of partisan politics, nobody will want to do that. So it's a wrong of the system.
There's enough blames to go around here. Some of the allegations made by the embattled deputy governor is that the chief of staff to the governor, Mr. Onoja, seems to wield more power than himself, the deputy governor. And the rift between the governor and the deputy governor dates back to almost 2.5 years ago. So this is nothing new. You say you have studied Kogi politics well enough. When did it really all go bad between the two gentlemen?
Okay, you may not be able to say that this is the exact point where everything went bad, because there's this patching in politics, even when things are not going well, you are in a public function, or you say, or you smile because you really want to win the next election. So you may not be able to say, but again, I have to quickly point out at this point that the issue of chief of staff being powerful is not a problem of Kogi alone. Unfortunately, the position of a chief of staff is not a constitutional position. But somebody somewhere created this position to coordinate the activities of all the other staff. Unfortunately for some of these deputy governors, vice president, and all that, they have put them under as a staff of the president or the governor. So if you accept that as a deputy governor or a vice president, you accept to be a staff of the governor or the president, my sister, my brother, you will be under the chief of staff, because the way they've designed it is that everything revolves around him. Let's talk about Nigeria briefly. You remember the other time when the president even came out that all the ministers, you see the way it is that all of you have to report to the chief of staff. So it is everywhere. The question now is, how do you want to manage the office of chief of staff? First, for you to understand that there are two important offices in every state. The office of the secretary to the government is not the staff. The secretary to the government of any state or federation is not the staff of the president. It's a staff of the state, and he must be treated as such. And the position of the deputy governor is not the staff of the governor. It's the staff of the state. But there's been a disconnect over time, so that's why they just want everywhere in Nigeria today. Go to Alausa in Lagos, where we are today. You can't see the almighty governor except you pass through the chief of staff.
But a lot of people will say, you have pointed out that it's not a constitutional role.
Yeah.
When you look at it, a lot of people will say, if then it's not a constitutional role, then why is this person taking this position apparently, very powerful? Because some people will tell you that in regard, what a chief of staff just means is someone like your batsman in the army. And that's about it. So why would this person wield such much power, and the power is almost attacking the workings of the Constitution? And don't you think that once the governor didn't transmit power to the the deputy governor, impeachment proceedings should have proceeded against the governor, because in effect, that's a breach of Constitution.
It is. Of course,
why didn't they start impeachment proceedings against the governor?
Because the people in the House or the Senate or the National Assembly or the House of Assembly, in cases where things like this happen, are members of the governor's party. And if you read very carefully, you discover that the wealth of the House of Assembly and the health of the House of Assembly is in the hand of the governor. This is what I mean. In a state of the federation, in one state in Nigeria today, you heard about the snake story. You don't want to visit that House of Assembly. In the last 8 years, I'm not sure there's been any sensible renovation. So for anybody to get in the good book of the governor, because they know that the governor controls everything.
But if you say that, then it means that the conversation on separation of power is a flawed conversation in this country.
Of power, where? Where do you see that? Where do you see separation of power? You see, there cannot be separation of power when we have a powerful man who controls the resources of all other units of government, all other organs of government. The judiciary today, which we call the last hope of common man, which is supposed to be the most important. The idea of calling it the last hope of common man is that if the executive fails you, if the legislature fails you, that the judiciary will not fail. But my brother, the judiciary today will still need to go to the executive to beg for money, to beg for their allowances, to beg for salary. That is why there's no separation of power in the recent.
Besides obviously him being denied like his legitimate expenses, he has also come out to say that, Elder Simon Achuba has come out to say that his life has been threatened, where he feels that gunmen have been mobilized to come after him and to kill him. And he reached out to the Inspector General of Police and even the President Buhari to help him kind of solve this situation. And still, nothing has really been done. How far does it have to go before we really start to see steps being taken to settle the dispute between these two people?
You see, this is quite unfortunate, and I'm sorry to say this. It is the same process every Nigerian goes through every day. When you pass through the road from here to Ore, and you're afraid that you're going to be kidnapped, or from Abuja to Kaduna, and everybody is talking and nobody is doing anything. I think it's the same process that the deputy governor is going through now. I am not saying that the governor has actually hired anybody to assassinate him. That's between him and the governor in reality. But the fact is that nothing works as speedy as politics in Nigeria. And once you get to a state where the only thing that works is politics and politicking, then you should be afraid. I am afraid for him that nothing is going to be done. It's even lucky that we have a president like President Buhari who will not encourage political rascality. There are some presidents that they will not even allow the deputy governor to get to the point of seeing the chief of staff to the president. So I'm not sure that anything is at sight as we speak, except the fact that he can only hope on the powers of the court.
Well, the party has taken a stance. He was suspended. The House of Representatives moved to impeach him. Going back to the blame game I talked about earlier, the deputy president had alleged that he was being owed salaries.
The deputy governor?
Yes.
Okay.
And the government of the state had come out to say those were not actually the truth. He's not being owed salaries, but however, some allowances are yet to be paid. The reaction of Governor Yahaya Bello and his team seems to point to the fact that the deputy governor, Achuba, is still working for the PDP. They refer to him as a PDP mole, and they say he's trying to truncate the administration of Governor Yahaya Bello. Do you sense that this is what is happening?
Of course, you get to a point in every man, you get to a point in your life that you may want to, if going forward is not feasible, you may want to actually go backward. I wouldn't know, and you cannot totally trust a professional politician when it comes to jumping from one party to the other, especially if they notice that they are not being treated well in the party where they belong. But the story should have been, the thing should be, how did it get to this point? Before you ask somebody to come and deputize for you, to come and be your deputy, it means that there's a level of trust. There's a level of perhaps a partnership and cordiality between both of you. So now it's even more interesting because both of them, they cannot come out and face Nigerians and tell Nigerians that they won the last election with their own popularity.
But they didn't win. They have never, the governor has never won any election in this country.
He won the election to become a governor, but he actually rode on the vote of the political party, won by another person.
So, he won
election. If you did not win election, you can't be.
Don't misinterpret this. And let's not,
misinform.
You are the one that is misinterpreting this.
Hang on a minute. The mandate was Abubakar Aldu's mandate.
But there was an election after Abubakar died. And
Abubakar Aldu's mandate.
Yes, then it wasn't. It wasn't.
And that was the good
No, it wasn't. This is what happened. The election was declared inconclusive. That means that the election has not been concluded. Before Yahaya Bello came and won some little other vote, he only wrote on the popularity of the party, not his personal popularity, but he did win election.
And the popularity of Abubakar Aldu. And that's why you can see that two of Abubakar Aldu's son, Prince Abubakar Aldu's son, did contest in the APC primaries because the Abubakar Aldu clan still feels a sense of legitimacy to that seat. You remember?
Of course I do.
Faleke could have been there.
Yes.
You remember? And you remember how the incumbent governor was brought in?
We will go
on the break soon because we'll also take counter arguments by the likes of them, Dino Malaya and the likes. They said, we were instrumental to bringing this man in. We'll go on a quick break. And we'll be right back. We'll be joined by Salifu here. From our Abuja studio. He's speaking from the government. We'll be right back after this. It makes a good show today.
Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. Well, joining us now from our Abuja studio is Salifu Usman, a legal practitioner, social critic, and the publicity secretary, Reclaim Kogi Project. Good morning. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yes. We also have in our Lagos studio here Mr. Dotun. He's Dotun Ojon, a leadership development strategist and author of a book, Understanding Technical Leadership. We've been talking to Mr. Dotun for the past couple of minutes. Yeah. But let's come to you now in our Abuja studios. Really talk us through, really, what's the state of affairs in Kogi State? Governor Yahaya Bello has emerged a candidate for the APC in the November 16 governorship elections. What are his chances? How would you describe his reign for the past couple of years as the governor of Kogi State?
Thank you so much for this beautiful question. The reign of Governor Yahaya Bello in the past 4 years in Kogi State can best be described as disastrous. It has never been bad. It has never been this bad in the history of Kogi State. By every yardstick you want to measure the delivery of dividends of democracy to the people of Kogi State, we can categorically or emphatically say without fear of contradiction that this government is a monumental failure. It has failed the people on all fronts.
Some people will say, some people will say you are saying that is because the reason you're saying that is because of your close affiliation with the embattled deputy governor of Kogi State. Some will put it to you that the recent landslide victory of Yahaya Bello at the APC primaries is a testament to his leadership prowess in the state. And some will say it's time for you to start lobbying your embattled deputy governor to see if he can get on the ticket with Yahaya Bello again. What do you say to that?
In politics, you would expect such statements. But one thing that any keen observer of Kogi politics will attest to, one fact any keen observer will attest to, is the fact that the so-called primary was won through arm twisting. The process itself was predetermined. It was flawed with irregularities. It was a complete betrayal of the people's trust in the All Progressive Party. Major candidates were disqualified in a manner that it is unbecoming of a national political party. Even on the very day of that primary, delegates were coerced. In fact, the names were written for delegates on their card, for just to achieve one predetermined purpose, and which was just a declaration. I call it a coronation of Mr. Yahaya Bello as the governor of Kogi. It does not reflect in any way the true feelings of either the delegates or the peace-loving people of Kogi State who have suffered so much deprivation under this government. You may want to link my position to my opposition or the opposition of my principal, Mr. Elder Achuba, to Mr. Yahaya Bello, but the facts are there. After the primaries and the declaration of Mr. Yahaya Bello as the candidate of the All Progressive candidate, you can see the mournful mood that the state has been thrown into. His election as the candidate of the All Progressive Party,
All Progressive Congress, you might wish to say.
It's not the will and wish of the people. Of the All Progressive Congress. It's not the will and wish of the people. It is a product of arm twisting and one of the greatest democratic fraud of this era.
Okay, sir, so if we can ask this question right now, if you look at everything that's happening in Kogi State and we're looking at the feud that is going on between the deputy governor and the Kogi State governor, running towards the Kogi State elections, do you think that Elder Simon Achuba stands a chance of even beating him in this race? Is it possible?
No, definitely no. The relationship has gone sad.
Or can the people of Kogi State actually...
Mr. Achuba himself would not be willing to fly a joint ticket with Mr. Yahaya Bello. He feels strongly that Mr. Yahaya Bello and his cohort has squandered the goodwill that this administration hitherto enjoyed with the good people of Kogi State and can by no means accept to be a running mate to Mr. Yahaya Bello. He is definitely not interested in such.
Let me just come to you. He's your principal. Mr. Elder Achuba is somebody you know very well. Can you just take us through maybe what he told you or what you know was the cause of this whole problem between both parties? Let's hear from your side, from a vantage point of view. What was the cause of all of this?
Very well.
Please, take us through the timeline for this.
Okay, thank you so very much for this very all-important question. You will recall that after the coronation of Mr. Yahaya Bello as the elected governor of Kogi State by the All Progressive Party and the subsequent confirmation by the court, Elder Simon Achuba was subsequently in place of Honorable James Falike as the elected deputy governor of Kogi State, which came up subsequently after the swearing in of Mr. Yahaya Bello on the 20th day of January 2016. Elder Achuba accepted that opportunity with the zeal and willingness to serve the people of Kogi State and to bring his wealth of experience as the most experienced politician in the government of Mr. Yahaya Bello. Because if you recall, that he was the deputy speaker under the administration of Alhaji Ibrahim Idris, and he has been a stakeholder in the Kogi Project. So after the coming into place of the said administration, and things started evolving, policies were being drafted and implemented, and the government came up with the screening and staff verification exercise. At that point, Elder Achuba, as a very experienced politician, advised the government that while we'll embark on this verification exercise, there is every need for us to ensure that salaries and other fringe benefits are being paid to staffs, to workers and pensioners as at when due, considering the fact that this is a wholly civil service state and the economy of this state is absolutely dependent on earnings of civil servants and pensioners. But this government that has a different agenda other than the welfare of the people considered that advice as a betrayal of their cause. And he was, from that point, considered and termed a betrayer and treated as such. Things went so when civil servants went on months of strikes. The Nigerian Medical Association went on strike. The Nigerian Labour Congress in Kogi went on strike. ASU in Kogi State University went on strike and was proscribed. It appears as if the government was going to crash. And Elder Achuba, as the most experienced politician in this same government, keep emphasizing the fact that we must review our strategy and go back to the drawing board. We must get the state working. But the governor and his cohorts felt that those were voices of a dissent and a betrayer, and he should be booted out of office. On the account of this position, he was cast out of the administration. His salaries and benefits of his office were stopped. His aides were withdrawn. In fact, his official quarter, his official residence as the deputy governor of the state, electricity supply and water supply were cut off. He was deprived of all conceivable amenities. But he kept holding on to the office because he felt he has a mandate of the people of Kogi State, which he has taken an oath to defend. But this position continued until his very life came under threat. And the monumental fraud that was going on in the state
I just quickly want to come in here.
Had to be exposed.
Because we know the story from where his life came under threat. But a lot of people will say, he too had with them. So take, for instance, there was a case of $2 billion. Part of his salary and emoluments, you know, the arrears of his salary and emolument. And I wonder, for a deputy governor in a country where 100 million people live less than $1 per day, $2 billion is emoluments and Nesta code and travel, because this was on a sister, on another TV channel, when somebody representing the governor came to say that. So I want you to answer this question after this quick commercial break. There are talks about him too being part of them. He too collected big fat paychecks. And he didn't remember then that the citizens and the workers of Kogi were not being paid salaries. We'll come back and we'll talk about these issues and more right here on The Morning Show. Right, welcome back to The Morning Show here on the Rise News. And in our Abuja studios, we're still talking to Salifu Usman, and is an aide to the embattled deputy governor of Kogi State. I did ask a question, sir. I said, you said your principal was being touted as a persona non grata in the administration of Yaya Bello because he spoke out as regards the emolument of civil servants. But I said the allegations too, in fact, they brought a receipt. In fact, my colleagues just buttressed us. They brought a receipt. So another TV channel showing that your principal was being paid till 2017. 2019, July. You know, and the emoluments were very heavy, over $2 billion. And while he wasn't working, so when did he know, like you were saying, that workers were not being paid in Kogi promptly? Because it's not today it started, half salary in Kogi State. So they're saying your principal is all part of this. It's just a bad romance that went wrong.
That's, this is not the first time we have been confronted with this question. But one distinction I want Nigerians to understand between the person of Elder Simon Achuba and the office of the Deputy Governor of Kogi State is that Elder Simon Achuba is an individual, but the office of the Deputy Governor of Kogi State is an institution. His complaints about emoluments, allowances, salaries, and fringe benefits of the office of the Deputy Governor is not that of his person as Simon Achuba. The office of the Deputy Governor as an institution has aides, has a running cost, has needs to be met, has securities attached to it, has clerks, has all kind of servicing assistants attached to it. And the so-called 1.8 billion that time or the Deputy Governor's office has come out to claim against the government of Kogi State is for the servicing of the office of the Deputy Governor of Kogi State and not for his person. They said some includes travel allowances for aides attached to the office of the governor, for security votes for the office of the Deputy Governor of the Kogi State, for travel allowances for office of the Governor of Kogi State and his staffs, and sundry costs. This sum he is claiming today is a sum total of such amount that has been owed the office since the inception of the administration, and certainly not since 2017 or 2018 or any other time that the Deputy Governor and the Governor has had this misunderstanding. So the issue has been there.
Okay, so bringing it back to the
But it was being managed by the Deputy Governor with the hope that reason will prevail ultimately, and these issues will be addressed alongside those of other workers of Kogi State. But as it stands today, we have a recalcitrant government, and the deputy governor has to speak out for the whole world to know that he is not in support of the conspiracy of the government against the people of Kogi State.
Mr. Usman, we'll get back to you. My colleague Shaitan has a question here for Mr.
Yes, bringing him back
Dotun
to Mr. Dotun Ojon. You've heard everything that he said. Do you think that this is a case of double standards, or do you agree with Mr. Salifu Usman regarding how he's been treated so far?
You see, there are two issues here, really. We can talk about the expensive nature of our governance process in Nigeria. If you look at it very carefully, 2 billion for the office of the deputy governor is not too much. Because all these people you see when they travel from Lagos to Abuja, you see unnecessary fleet of cars, about 5, 6 of them. They have security, mobile police all around the place when there are no people chasing them. This is the institution we have built. We have built an institution that gobs money, political institution. So let's take that aside. The other angle that I want us to look at is the angle of the person of the deputy governor and the office of the deputy governor. Most times, people, because they want to also siphon money, they want to have access to funds, they keep making noise as to, oh, my office needs so, so, and so, even in the real sense of it. If you have taken your time to study the entire, you can pick any state at random. I tell you that as the office of the governor has allocation, that of the deputy governor also has allocation, including allocation for burial ceremonies. In some cases, burial ceremonies. And I know the man in Kogi will bear me witness. So when they don't release some of these monies, then the deputy governor may be aggrieved. And there are cases where the deputy governor can also go out. I'm just trying to make a general decision so that we understand. There are cases that the deputy governor can go out to represent the state. He can make donation on behalf of the state government. Is this the money we are talking about? If these are the money we are talking about, because an average deputy governor will not be concerned about salary in the real sense of it. How much is the salary? I doubt whether we have any one deputy governor in Nigeria that earns up to 500,000 as salary, because the state governor earns between about 600 and 1 million. But it is these allowances that they rely on. So when you deny them this allowance, and that's one of the reasons that a person like me think that the deputy governor is staying put because of allowances. Because if we really want to address issue, if I am your deputy, I am older than you, for God's sake, in this case, and I'm more experienced. The deputy governor of Kogi, the embattled deputy governor, is more experienced than the governor. When it comes to politics of Kogi, he's been there. The right thing to have done is to have resigned and go to court to actually get this thing, to get my allowances. But I doubt whether he will do that, because I think he's still staying put there because he wants all the money to accumulate. I know that he will still go to court to actually enforce an order to get his
In fact, he has gone to court, you know, to get sort of like a stay from the National Assembly,
the House of Assembly
in the state, to be able to impeach him.
Yeah.
So what you are saying now, because I want us to take it to Abuja again, what you are saying now, that is, and I want to quote you categorically, this is Dotun Ojon saying this now, the reason why Elder Achuba, deputy governor, is still staying put,
is because he wants his salary to continue to accumulate. Because at the end of the day, either we like it or not.
And do nothing.
And do nothing. Either we like it or not, it's likely going to, I don't want to preempt what the court will say. It's likely going to approach court, and the court may likely give him...
no, he has approached the court.
That's for another thing entirely. That's for a stay of impeachment.
Impeachment,
I see him going back to court to force the state government to pay his allowances.
Because the state government, in fairness, is not denying that it's not owing the deputy governor allowances. They are saying that they have paid his salaries up to July 2019. But they do say that the allowances, some of them are yet to be verified, because there's a biometric process in the state. They are yet to verify some of his allowances, and those that have been verified, they say they do not have the funds yet to pay. So the state government is not denying that they are owing him allowances.
Let me quickly add this. If you are on the good book of your governor, that verification would be unnecessary.
So you believe that this is the governor actually trying to slow down the process, and not to release it?
The governor does not need to try to slow down anything. Everybody just reads the body language. Does the governor want to pay? No. It's not.
Let's cut to the chase now. The reason for this fight is money.
The reason for this fight is money, because election in Nigeria is a heavy investment. You cannot invest your money into election or to any party process and get to a position of authority and somebody will deny you allowance. See, to win election in Nigeria, to win a governorship election in Nigeria, you need between 800 million and about 2 billion naira. To win a governorship election in any state in Nigeria.
Let's move to the primaries. And while we await the PDP's primary for September 3, which is tomorrow, let's quickly look at the APC primaries that held. This primaries also produced, White has produced its candidate of Yahaya Bello, also produced some very unhappy aspirants who thought that, and have described the process as being flawed, compromised, and falling short of all expectations. What are the chances of the APC? Does it have a crisis brewing ahead of the November 16 election? I will ask you before we then go to our Abuja studios.
Of course, there will be a serious crisis within APC, and that does not mean that there will not be crisis in other political parties. First, what a governor does in our own political system is that once you become a governor, you try to hijack the party structure if you are not in control of it. Obviously, Yahaya Bello was not in control of the party that brought him to office. He only came as a result of what the other people have done. Now he has been able to successfully hijack the party structure. Forget about the fact that people were crying on the day of election. It is part of the hijacking. If majority of those people who were crying on the day of the primary, if they had had the resources and perhaps whatever that is involved, they would have done the same thing. Even if they have the opportunity, they would have done worse. So now Yahaya Bello has been able to take control of the party structure. Let me also remind you that as the governor of a state, in all the political parties in Nigeria, you are the leader of that political party in that state.
So just quickly before we go, there's a talk about Dino Melaye trying to do a deal with Idris Wada. He's also going to be the governor through the PDP primaries, that Dino Melaye will be his deputy, his running mate. But Dino Melaye has refuted that claim, so he will stand on his own. What are the chances of Dino Melaye, owing to the fact that the court has still ordered him to go face another elections for his senatorial position?
Yes. If we are to talk about Dino, maybe he may not really have a smooth sail. No, nobody will, to the governorship seat of Kogi State.
So Idris Wada has been governor before?
But he has been governor. I'm not saying an Idris Wada. What will have helped them as a party, what will have helped the PDP, is to come up with perhaps a neutral person who has the love of the people. It may be so difficult because the way it is now, APC is just warming itself to the heart of an average Kogi person. As we speak now, because of the long, it's a Kogi, Kogi is a civil servant-oriented state, and they owe them for a very long time. So if PDP or any other party can present somebody that is believable, the problem is that we have too many unbelievable politicians.
Okay. Can that silver bullet probably be a woman? Have you ever heard the name Natasha Akpoti?
Of course I have.
We'll come back after the break. We're through to Abuja. We'll talk about that. We'll look at this possibilities after this quick commercial break. Right, still the morning show here on Arise News. We're still talking to two great men about Kogi politics, Dotun Ojon and Usman, Mr. Salifu Usman. Right, so let's go to Abuja. Mr. Salifu Usman, you've heard it here. Not me, not my words, but Dotun Ojon's words. They said the reason for the fight is money. It's money, straight up, that all of this is rhetoric. You're saying it's just money. True or false, sir?
Certainly money is involved, but it's beyond money. That I would say.
That was an honest answer.
Okay.
And you also heard him, we were talking about the intricacies in the Kogi politics. You have said your superior, or Mr. Elder Achuba, would not be going on a joint ticket with Yahaya Bello, and this relationship has gotten to a point of no return. What are his plans going forward?
His plans going forward is to join forces with progressives and people-oriented politicians in Kogi State to rescue the state from Mr. Yahaya Bello and his cohorts, his cronies, who've held the state under so much bondage.
If you can be a bit more specific for us.
How does he plan to do this, sir?
When you talk about progressives.
Yes.
Has he chosen a political party? They accuse him of working for the PDP.
I can categorically tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that hitherto Elder Simon Achuba had no relationship whatsoever with the PDP. He is a very loyal party man, much more loyal and committed to the party than Mr. Yahaya Bello and his cohorts. He has done all within his best, within his capacity, to ensure that there was a transparent primaries in such a way that Mr. Yahaya Bello would have been successfully edged out and the party would have been repositioned for victory in the next election. But unfortunately, like Mr. Dotun rightly admitted or said at the studio with you there, Mr. Yahaya Bello, with the aid of the 30 billion that was released to him in about 2 months ago, was able to hijack the party structure and hijack the party's ticket for himself.
Okay,
and that situation has opened up a new front in Kogi State. There is alignment and realignment going on in Kogi State as we speak today. And I can tell you that Elder Simon Achuba is involved in the said realignment. Okay. At the end of the day,
he's involved in the said,
definitely have a position.
He's involved in the said realignment. So I had the chance of speaking to Elder Achuba once, and I asked him one question, and he fled up after asking him that question. In fact, he cut the phone on me that day. I asked him, are you still a member of the APC? So if you're saying this realignment is going on, and then Achuba still gets offended when you ask him, are you a member of the APC? Because he's still very much in the APC. How can he do realignment by still being a member of the APC, despite his suspension? I mean, unbundle all of this for me.
Sir, let me say something here at this point. The question of who is the authentic executive committee of the All Progressive Congress in Kogi State was in court as at the time you asked him that very question, because I have followed this event keenly and carefully. And at that point, a faction of the party purportedly suspended him. And he knows and believes sincerely that he was still a member of the All Progressive Congress and has been deeply involved in the activities of the All Progressive Congress. So he considered that question at that point in time and upfront, so to say. But let me add that even as we speak, the question as to the authenticity of the executive committee of the All Progressive Congress in Kogi State is on appeal, is at the Court of Appeal, sitting in Abuja here as we speak. So the question of Elder Achuba having been suspended or not been properly suspended is still in abeyance. But the point we are trying to make here is that as a Nigerian and a Kogite, an elder statesman in the Kogi Project, he has a duty to ensure that the interest of the people is uppermost in the running and the affairs of the state. And on that ground, he is involved in the realignment and regrouping that is happening in Kogi State today. Because I can tell you that a whole number of persons are not satisfied with the just concluded primaries in Kogi State. And there are certainly alignment. He is involved in the alignment.
Okay, you said all these alignments, but let me run this by you quickly. Could he be aligning with Natasha Akpoti, Idris Wada,
Dino
Melai, or the disgruntled sect of Prezawaka Aldu's children that were skimmed out of the APC primaries? Or he might want to align with the likes of people that are going to the ADP here in Kogi State, the likes of the Batude Rukeres of this world. You know, so where is this alignment going on, real quickly?
All of those places you mentioned are possible camps that Elder Achuba can align with. But the bottom line is that as it stands today, alignments and realignments are taking place in Kogi, and at the end of the day, Elder Achuba will align with that camp and party that he feels has the interests of the people of Kogi State at heart and has capacity to rescue Kogi State from the hands of the present cohorts who calls the shots in the state today.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Usman from our Abuja studios. But just before we go very quickly, Mr. Ojon, I want to ask you, as the PDP goes into its primaries, we're talking about somebody neutral. If the party can bring up somebody neutral. But don't forget the intricacies and the power play, political power play of Kogi politics, the three major tribes. Yeah. Do you think that the PDP will be looking that way?
Of course, every serious political party will look at that direction because either we like it or not, there's a clear division and you can't continue to favor one zone and expect the other people to keep quiet, no matter how powerful your zone may be. So it's going to get to a point that they will revolt, and they are not going on the street to do that. They are going to revolt through the ballot. So a very sensible and sensitive political party will consider zone, consider even religion, either we like it or not, and some of these little this thing before you.
In the spirit of alignment and let me probably say will balancing now, if you permit me, because anytime I hear alignment, there's will balancing too. The spirit of will balancing. Is Kogi ready for a woman? A female governor in the shape of a Natasha Akpoti that has constantly campaigned for the restoration of Ajaokuta, which was supposed to be the darling, the formidable darling of Kogi State. And maybe probably if she gets there, she might bring Ajaokuta back and create a lot of jobs for people in Kogi State.
Nobody can. I doubt whether a governor can actually single-handedly bring Ajaokuta back. But your interest also will drive whatever you want done. But again, Kogi State, try the youth. So who tells you that they cannot try a woman? It is possible. They are enlightened people, so they can go any direction. So it's not impossible.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank both of you very much. All eyes on Kogi, the November 16 election. Of course, there are also elections in Bayelsa State, but right now we're keeping our eyes on Kogi State. Thank you so much, Mr. Usman from our Abuja studios for being part of the program. Much appreciated. And Mr. Ojon for being here in our Lagos studios. We'll keep this conversation going. I would like to call you some other time, but thank you so much. Shaito?
Thank you so much. Well, that brings us to the end of the show today. I'm Shaito Atigari.
Rafai say that it's been a confluence today. You know those cheesy comments about Kogi?
You're very cheesy. And I'm a day, so I'm more on.
Enjoy the rest of your morning.